Hi there, I said. My name is Tamara Kartal. I work for Paws International. I'm their senior manager for stray animal care, monitoring, evaluation, impact. It's a long title. In their companion animal department. Just very roughly what we do, basically. So we have stray animal care programs in Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, Ukraine, and Romania currently. We do some companion animal programs in South Africa, and we have a large partnership program in Southeast Asia, which includes Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and most recently India. Today, I'm going to talk about our Thalia app experience, which has recently started basically in the last few months, in September or something. No, September it should be. So I'm focusing on that really. Just a second, sorry. Obviously, as we've heard from everyone, planning on conducting a survey is more complex than we can talk about today. But I really just wanted to put this down here so we're aware of that. So as we're talking about Thalia today, I'm going to focus on the transect surveys that we've done in both Moldova and Bulgaria. I'm not going to go into much detail about the other surveys that we've done. Ellie mentioned that earlier, that really this is one part of your data collection or assessment of your population. So we've done, for example, photo mark recapture in Bulgaria, as well as a sociological study there, but I'm not going to talk about this at all today. I just want to point this out here. We also explored subpopulations and their dynamics, also something I'm not going to talk about in detail today, as well as the attitudes and really relationships people have with cats and dogs. Just to point out, because we did dogs and cats together, so our programs mainly focus on dogs and include cats, but we're now really focusing on conducting surveys around cats as well, because they're becoming an increasingly important focus of our programs, but also municipalities really are aware that they should be included in humane population management. So just short about the transect surveys. So the transects we conducted were conducted in zones that we prepared in the municipalities, for example, a north zone or a central zone. And within those zones, the smallest sampling unit was the village level. So villages were one sampling unit. Depending on the size of that village, we combined units into one survey just to really make the best use of our time and resources. So in both Moldova and Bulgaria, we have conducted these surveys together with the municipalities, something that I would like to just point out, because our projects are always in collaboration with the municipalities. But both of these projects are in very different stages. So in Bulgaria, the surveys in Thalia were part of our baseline assessment of the dog population, and will be very much our monitoring surveys in the future. Whereas in Moldova, we conducted those in our exploratory phase, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more later on. But I'm just pointing this out, as that doesn't mean that it changes the protocol we use or how we designed the transects. It just means that they served a very slightly different purpose at the time. Here, I just wanted to give, on this slide, I just wanted to give like really broad overarching objectives of why we would do monitoring surveys or transects along the monitoring surveys along transects. So for dogs, really generate dog densities along street length, so per kilometer, create these routes that we're going to take and monitor our project's progress over time, and then obviously get a better idea of the welfare, age, and composition of the free-roaming dog population. And I'm saying free-roaming dog population here on purpose, because obviously what Ellie pointed out already, we just know that they're on the street. We don't actually know that they're strays. Cat objectives are similar, just that we're just starting out, so we're also kind of exploring the density dependence, or whether there is one with dog densities. So jumping right in, so Moldova, we worked with the Chisinau municipality. So we went to Chisinau, which is known, or people talk about really low densities of dogs in the center of the city, but reportedly there are more dogs in the suburban areas of the municipality. Just to get a better feel for it and quantify the idea of more dogs, we conducted these transect surveys in the more outskirts, almost like the suburban parts of the municipality. And we did some photo mark recapture as well. So here I'm just walking us a little bit through the northwestern one. So here we have the villages Troshini and so sorry if I mispronounce this, and Dubrava. So in the northern part, it's Troshini, and the other one is Dubrava, more to the south. So as you can see, they're together but also separate. So that's why I put a Google Maps satellite image here, so you can see really that they're separated by agricultural fields around here and are connected through one road, literally. But what you can also see is that I created these routes in Google Maps. So I very unbiased draw these routes, and was fairly naive and not aware of where are dogs and where are not, where there are less dogs. So this is an unbiased transect. We conducted these surveys between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. So it's in the morning hours, also just to check whether there's a difference in cat density. We did a couple of observational transects in the afternoon. So after we've done that, and Talia did its beauty and put it in the database, basically you get a lot of the analysis part that Ellie was already talking about. So what we see here are the results of 2 consecutive days. So basically, that Talia gives you a very good visual in terms of density differences, so the heat map. And if you survey more than one species, as we did, so cats and dogs in this case, you can really see where you saw cats and where you saw dogs along the transect. And as you can see, we had areas where we saw more dogs and cats, and areas where we saw almost none or none. So it really depends, and it's really varied throughout the transect, which is kind of like to be expected, right? If you do a really good cross section and cover the different housing types, as well as the different areas that are used for different purposes, basically. And what this translates to in terms of data is that we saw on the left here in Troshini, we basically saw 2 dogs and 1.4 cats per kilometer street length. And here we saw 4.8 dogs and 0.8 cats per kilometer street length. So different, but very close by. We recorded no dogs with skin conditions, and so welfare was pretty good in terms of skin conditions, but also we didn't have any dogs with low body conditions. We also saw no puppies or lactating females on the street, which can just mean that at the time of the survey, we might have been out of the breeding season, obviously, because we only did 1 survey. Most of the dogs appeared to be stray dogs, judging whether they had a sign of ownership, and only 5% here and 6% here, respectively, wore a collar as a sign that they actually had an owner. We didn't see any other signs, but I like the point, Ellie, that you made. Yeah, there could be other signs of ownership, but we didn't see any. Another really good function I think Talia provides is that, as Ellie mentioned, you can download your data in different file versions, so Excel obviously, but you can also download them as KML and KMZ files. So here I combined the two villages together because they were recorded as different surveys, and put them and upload them in Google Maps. So you can see in green, you can see the track that was followed. I mean, the GPS was glitched a little bit here. They obviously didn't fly over here, but you can see though that this area, for example, was cut out. So there were areas that were not accessible for us or were changed, and Google Maps just didn't pick up on it. So this gives me an opportunity to really correct the blue line that I had created for the sandbox for the next day and for the following monitoring surveys if needed. And so the surveyors will follow the same track over time. So this is a really, really, really good possibility for us to correct our sandboxes, but also if you want to display, for example, the whole municipality, you can upload it to Google Maps and have a regional or municipal spatial distribution of the cats and dogs, or cats or dogs that you're basically surveying. So as I said, monitoring surveys that will be for Bulgaria, which we're talking about now. So in Bulgaria, as I said, it was a little bit more complex, so served a slightly different purpose, and we were interested in the different subpopulations. So I put a couple here, including dogs that we had already sterilized a couple of years ago. So we wanted to record the tag numbers, and they appear to be more community dogs, and just figure out how long they stay on the street, for example. And to include all of this in our baseline assessment, we did obviously a variety of surveys, including transects with Telea. But we also, as I said, we did a photo mark recapture and a sociological study. Sampling units were, again, villages as the smallest sampling units, and again, zones where we combined those. And villages were usually of different size, but also different human densities. They're all suburban, but still there were some differences. What was really interesting in this municipality was that the villages, more even than in Moldova, were really, really looked like isolated, almost like islands, which they're obviously not, but they were also just connected through one road. So making an assumption really easy to look at it as a closed population. Obviously, there is some migration in and out of the villages, but I'm confident, sort of, as confident as you can be, obviously, with assumptions that it's for our purposes, it's not big. So there are not lots of dogs migrating in and out. So as I mentioned earlier, I think we used the same templates for Moldova and Bulgaria. So the questions that we used were based on the templates that Telea has already, and we added a couple of questions that we thought were interesting. So we looked at cats in less detail because we were just adding this onto our dog population surveys, dog monitoring surveys, basically, or transect surveys. So for the cats, we looked at age structure in very easy terms, like kitten versus adult, whether they were notched or not, and whether they were pregnant. But also we looked at whether they were injured, like if they had an eye infection or anything that was very easily identifiable for a surveyor. Who in our case was really, luckily we have a lot of veterinarians, but not necessarily, I'm not a veterinarian. So having something that's easy to spot and record really consistently was important for us. And then with dogs, we were a little bit more elaborate. So we really looked at male, female, sterilized, not sterilized, lactating females, puppies, whether they were pregnant. And then during our surveys, we really realized that there needs to be some add-ons for our monitoring surveys. So for example, we will add on chained dogs. So we're going to record chained dogs because they're quite visible. They're concerning welfare issues in Bulgaria, and something that's going to be addressed by our community engagement. And then we also going to include hotspot surveys because we did find feral packs that don't necessarily crop up in transects, and they're important because they are really successful breeders in the area that we looked at. Just to show you a little bit of data. So there are the different zones with the different villages. So I named them not by name, but really easy for the surveyor to go consecutively, so you know which one is next, basically. And even in the sandboxes, it's very clear where you go next, basically. So as you can see, the dog densities are very different, as I mentioned as well. The human densities were very different as well. So the central zone, for example, has slightly higher than maybe the north zone, but in general, it's really, really all over the place. So we had 4.8 here, and then we have barely 0.3 here, dogs per kilometers. That doesn't, or does translate, I'm not sure, like really as much as varied as this is also the sterilization rate, depends how you want to look at it. So really not very high levels anywhere, a little bit better in the central zone, but never reaching really significant levels. In terms of cats per kilometer, they are as diverse as the dogs per kilometer, really. So again, very different across the municipality. Something that appears to be true here too, like in Moldova or in Chisinau. Cats don't seem to follow a pattern where you have lots of dogs, you have fewer cats, or vice versa. So really, but interesting and really important for future cat programs. Something that we're interested in, because when you look at a municipality, it's interesting if you compare populations across wider areas like regions or even countries, then looking at some kind of, they're not exact, but relationships with the human population. So we looked at dogs per 100 humans compared to the population of the village that they live in. And then we can see, like in other areas of the world, a classic inverse relationship where you have really high densities of human population. Turns out that dog population is lower, or dog densities are lower, and vice versa. So really something that might be interesting. Something I forgot in the earlier slide. So what we did as well, because we did photo mark recapture, we generated a detectability for the municipality, and it appears to be around 0.4. We needed some more photo mark recaptures to be really certain, but that's definitely the results of our current photo mark recaptures. And then we extrapolated our dog densities per kilometer to the total street length, and then corrected with the detectability. And that's how we compare the dogs per 100 humans here against the total human population. Yeah, and that brings us basically to the end of my presentation, since we were talking about baseline assessments, or even earlier, really exploring dog populations. So from this baseline on, obviously, with all the other data that we've collected, we're looking at the dynamics and the different subpopulations, how they interact. And then with the same transects over time now, we're gonna track the impact of the project, but also look at how fast or little indicators respond to the different interventions within the project. So hopefully I'm going to be able to present that in a couple of years or sooner, I don't know. But yeah, thank you very much from a really sweet dog on the street of Chisinau. Thank you.